Married at First Sight, Season 17, Episode 5, Denver. So this episode was pretty mediocre with the exception of Lauren and Orion getting into a cultural war. In any case, I do have a little spoiler for you, but if you don't want to hear it, not to fear. I will give you a warning before and after the spoiler so you know when and where to fast forward to. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tales. In this episode, we watch the couples talk and go to their little excursions to see how they interact when they are doing fun things together. So Claire and Cameron, aka Rudy Patootie Pants for being so dang rude, this experiment puts these folks in such a bubble where everything is supposed to happen so fast, getting married, having sex, developing feelings, and then deciding if they want to spend the rest of their lives together. And that's just the wedding night. So on like day 3, after listening to the other couples talk about how well they're doing, Rudy Patootie Pants is already questioning his relationship with Claire, like wondering why they're not as far along as the other couples. So while I do believe he needs to be questioning his relationship, it's not because of where the other couples are in their relationships, but because they are a lousy couple. Now, during this conversation, Rudy Patootie did admit that he's been difficult to deal with. Self-awareness is a beautiful thing. Honestly, though, in this episode, I had more of an issue with Claire. She seems to be picking at him now. Like when he was in the paddleboarding outfit, looking like a kangaroo hunter, children's lifeguard at a senior center, she laughed at him and told him that he looked like a dad. Maybe that joke would have been more funny if she wasn't wearing mom jeans. Because, honey, you are literally too cute for that outfit that you had on. If I had a petite figure like yours, everything I wear would be skin tight. Y'all would be sick of me. Anyway, Rudy Patootie Pants said that he and Claire had a conversation about the touching and intimacy, and he's more confused than ever. That's because she has her normal rules about touch that she's trying to convey, but since she's not attracted to you, she has a different set of rules on top of her normal rules that cancel each other out. Like rule number 1, ask me before you lean in for the kiss. Rule number 2, never ask me for a kiss. So they went paddleboarding together and they appeared to be having a good time. But at this point, we're just watching two people who are trying to figure out how to enjoy a free vacation with someone they barely like, rather than a love story in the making. After they went paddleboarding, Rudy Patootie told the confessional cam that he does like Claire and he finds her attractive. See, I think that all that cutting up he did the other day was him feeling insecure and handling it like a 6-year-old boy who has a crush on a girl. So he socks her in the arm or left boob or somewhere. Not that I'm excusing his behavior or anything. I'm just saying that's my diagnosis that nobody asked for. Anyway, Claire asked if his bike business gets boring. See, why you gotta ask that? She knows that repairing bikes is his passion. That question hit me the wrong way because one would only ask that question if they thought what he did for a living was boring. These two are not bringing out the best in each other. I mean, look at their faces. When they talk, half the time, they are not even smiling. They look miserable. During this conversation, Claire was asking him if he believes in therapy. And when he said yes, she was like, if you believe in it, then why aren't you going to therapy now? Hold up, time out, therapy, Thelma. You talking about therapy like it's the gym. Just because he believes in therapy doesn't mean he has to be in it 3 days a week and twice on Sunday. Not that he doesn't need it, but that's not the point. That expectation is a little over the top to me. Now, throughout this conversation, it actually felt like he was trying to be decent, but she was being Judgy McJudgerson. He was talking about how things tend to show up for him, like right when he needs them to, which to me kind of sounded like a religious or spiritual thing, but I don't know if that's where he was trying to go with that. But Judge Judy over there was so turned off by that answer that her face was turned up like the Grinch who stole Christmas. Clearly, she disagreed and was like, things just show up for you? I believe you have to work hard for what you want. I'm learning that we are very different people who have very different views, but I think we can find common ground. No, you don't. No, you don't. Come on, Claire, stop playing. You do not like this man. I suspect just about now you're regretting ghosting on some of your Bumble dates who treated you 3 times better than your now husband does. Oddly enough, Rudy Patootie Pants was actually kind of positive about the situation and thinks that they're not so different, but thinks it's a good thing that they are not exactly alike because that would be boring. Oh, you mean boring like your career? According to Claire, anyway. At this point, I don't know where these two can go. Rudy Patootie seemed to like her more in this episode, but he can feel that she's not into him, and I suspect she's saying one thing on camera and behaving differently off camera. I don't think she knows what to do with this married at first sight to a man that she can't stand situation that she got herself into. Lauren and Orion. Ooh-wee. Now, in this episode, these two got off to such a beautiful start. They're all snuggled up in the pool, being all sweet to each other. Like Orion said that it's his goal to make her feel safe and comfortable. Aww. And they were on the same page with having one kid and adopting one. Right here, he's cheesing to the confessional cam, saying how well the experts match them. He even had another moment when she was explaining her hair and what good Fred oil is. Just kidding. That one was for the old school back in the day, folks. Either you know or you know. She was showing him how she lays down her edges. And if you don't know what edges are, those little hairs nearest the scalp. He asked her if he could watch her put down her edges, and she laughed at him for saying put down her edges instead of lay them down. Right then, I was kind of like, okay, Miss Sally Beauty Supply, you need to simmer down with laughing at folks who make mistakes. Thinking about how she was dying laughing at Cameron's reservation comment on the bus. One conversation I thought was interesting was regarding how much they each will contribute to the household. She prefers 80-20, him being the 80, but they settled on 70-30. Now, given the way she presents herself and the way her family carried on about her being so independent, I was actually surprised that she was looking for an 80-20 relationship. He said, I would like to be that type of provider for you, but it's going to take some time to get there. Yeah, I couldn't remember how old this man was, so I just had to look up his age again. He's only 27, y'all, and he's living at home. Clearly, he's gonna need a minute to get his financial house in order. So then we see them in the bathtub together. Now, Lauren was like, I have a question for you. Do you use the N-word? He said, no. Have you ever? I have ignorantly. Can I punch you for my ancestors? Okay, we're good now. He explained that he was an ignorant kid and didn't know how offensive he was being until his elders pulled him aside to set him straight. So Lauren seemed to understand and let it go. And so she went on to say that she used to use words not knowing that they were derogatory too. And he said, like redskin? And then she was like, no, I actually don't know what that means, honestly. Oh, I actually do. I just looked at your face. He was like, that was a little rough. Now, once she realized he was offended, she immediately apologized and said she shouldn't have said that. But the damage was done. You can't unsee that, girl. First of all, Lauren, you were wrong. You were wrong, and your laughing at inappropriate moments done bit you in the butt, girl. If ever there was a time to keep a straight face, this was it. You've been around this man long enough to know that he is sensitive about his culture. If you just would have kept your composure and asked the question, I don't know what that means. Does that have something to do with the red undertones in the skin? I think it would have been a completely different conversation. But grabbing his arm while examining his face, then busting up laughing like, oh, I get it. I totally see it. On national TV even, that was your bad. As for Ryan taking offense, I'm not one to tell someone when they can or can't be offended. She said what she said, he felt what he felt. While I do believe his emotions were real, I kind of got the impression that he felt like this should be a teachable moment, not just for Lauren, but for the viewers, because he wanted to explain to her where the term comes from. I've actually never heard it explained the way he did, that it comes from the colonizers cutting their heads and peeling their skin back. I Googled the origin of redskin, and there actually seems to be some confusion about how it originated. Most believe it has to do with the red undertones in the indigenous skin, or the red paint that they would put on their faces. Anyway, Lauren pointed out that he handled the white man, Cameron, and his ignorant moment on the bus differently than her ignorant moment. True, but because you're a Black woman who claims to know what it feels like to be offended due to your ethnicity, he probably held you to a higher standard. With all of that said, while maybe this was a good teachable moment for his culture, it was also a good teachable moment for extending grace. He was the one who brought the term redskin into their conversation. She was thinking about other offensive terms. She didn't even know what that one meant. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not really taking a side because this really went deeper than we were shown. On Afterparty, Keisha had asked him about this moment. She reminded him that Lauren had given him grace for saying the N-word, so it would stand to reason that she would expect the same for her mistake. And by the way, if you don't have access to Afterparty, I posted this clip on my Instagram at Tamara Lynette Tales if you want to check it out for yourself. So he said he was having a hard time processing the situation and didn't really know how to react. He said the production team left them alone to allow them to work through this. He said they sat there for 2.5 hours talking it through. Keisha asked him what he was feeling during that time, and he said he was searching for a way to give Lauren grace. It's unfortunate that this situation either hurt him so deeply, triggered something, or embarrassed him on national TV to the point that this will probably be a negative turning point in their 3-minute relationship, which they might not come back from. By the way, if you are enjoying my content, please help my channel by pressing the like button and subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you. Okay, back on Austin. They are still doing great. They are bonding in agreement that there are aliens in the universe. Yeah, right. Oh, what was that? Nah. So they went on a boat ride in the rain, took a canoe out at the beach. They ate, he swam. She didn't swim because she wasn't feeling good, still recovering from her surgery. She felt bad for not getting in the pool and started to cry. And Austin was very understanding. Not a lot happened between these two, just more bonding. One thing Becca said that I thought was really interesting, though, is that she used to have anxiety to the point where she couldn't even go to the grocery store. Wow, she has come a long way. Good for her for putting in the work. I'm sure Claire is praising her for the amount of therapy she had to go through to get to this point. Now, this seems like a good place for a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear the tea, this is your cue to fast forward to the next siren that looks like this. Okay, last warning, here goes. So the word on the street is that one of the couples is not going to make it past the honeymoon, or they might break up right after the honeymoon. I'll give you one guess of who it is. Maybe. Did you guess Lauren and Orion? Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to get to see that love story develop. I'm so disappointed. They really seem to have great potential. By the way, please don't mention this spoiler in the comments. Let's not ruin it for people who don't want to know this information ahead of time, please. Thank you, and moving on. Emily and Brennan, they seem to be vibing so far and enjoying each other's company. Emily said they took a shower together and they were mostly naked. On Afterparty, she said that they were in their bathing suit. Now, how is wearing your bathing suit mostly naked? I wonder if they're going to be one of those couples where we find out later that they lied about not having sex, that in reality, they were tearing up that headboard since the first night. Anyway, she said after she got out of the shower, she went to grab a towel, slipped, and almost broke her hand. Ouch! On Afterparty, she has been rocking a wrist protector. Looks like she's a little accident prone. Now, when they were eating, she was carrying on about not having a work-life balance and always wanting to work to make money. But when she met with his family the other day, she said she's deciding on what type of wife she wants to be, working or stay at home. Now, Emily, which one is it? Are you a cubicle-holic who loves being at work all day? Or do you want your husband to be the breadwinner while you're a homemaker? You're sending mixed messages. So for their outing, production sent them on a shot tasting. I guess that's what you call it, when they try out different shots. And those were full-size shots. But producers, you know you are messy for sending that party girl out on a drinking expedition. But I'm not gonna lie, the alcohol seemed to have helped their relationship. They were laughing and having a good old time. Now, another thing Emily mentioned on Afterparty is that he's teaching her to be in a relationship. So she gave the example of where he said, you poured a drink for yourself, but didn't pour one for me. Brennan having to teach her how to be in a relationship is a red flag I mentioned early on in this season, and it's something I want to keep an eye on because I think it can get old and frustrating for him really fast. So there you have it. What do you think of this episode? It was okay. it's just unfortunate that we had a little culture war and therapy shaming, not being in therapy, that is. I'm still looking forward to seeing what this season will bring. But in the meantime, that's all I have for now. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in my next video.